I am so happy you guys are here today. And Pam, this is going to be a fabulous discussion because I know what your work is. And, I know that you and Donna have been working together for many years. So I'm really excited about where this is going to go. Donna, can you please share our beautiful, lovely guest today?
Yeah, I would love to. And I want to, well, first of all, she's an amazing friend. I've known her for 20 years. We've been in the health and wellness industry together for that long. And uh, she's a master Psych K facilitator working with the subconscious mind. But she's also a certified brain coach and a certified life coach who works with entrepreneurial women. And what I wanted to give a little framework about who she is, because she's not just somebody who's read the books and taken the classes, she has lived it all. She is an extraordinary woman. She has one master's degrees in almost the equivalent of other advanced studies and other things, but who needs two master's degrees? She was an art historian and was for 15 published author and was for 15 minutes. She said she was a world authority on an 18th century artist. But she's also an adventurer in life. She knows what it's like to be a woman who has to scrimp a little extra $20 out of the grocery money in order to escape a difficult situation. And now she has two businesses and she's thriving, happy, three kids, five grandkids that love her. And she's free. She's a wild woman. I watched her move from the East Coast to Eugene, Oregon, to start living in a little teeny house, a tiny house next to a forest so she could hike all day and adventure. She became an expert on tiny houses. And for her 67th birthday, she climbed a tree up 125 feet on a 165-foot tree. And for her 71st birthday, she went whitewater rafting down the Grand Canyon when they were 10-foot waves. Okay. So this woman is a wild and she's an adventurer. She's lived the life. And I just wanted to say that because I think she's pretty spectacular. So I was very excited when I got to invite a guest here. She's helped me significantly with Psych K and moving through. I had complex PTSD. I grew up with it and didn't even know I had it because your brain turns off when you have it. She helped me completely heal that with her expertise. So I want to introduce the amazing Pam McLellan.
Wow, Pam, welcome, welcome. We've got okay, so guys call it a bromance. What do women call it? A womance? I love it.
I have no idea.
I
But,
don't.
I'm going to do one correction in there.
Okay.
Donna, you said I've lived the life.
Oh, you're living
Past
the
tense,
life.
I'm still here. There is
Yes.
so much more to come.
And she's the one who keeps telling me, every time I say I'm sorry, she stops me.
Good, yeah. We're
Take
all
it
about
away.
being unapologetic, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this is a journey. We're on a pretty wild journey of life, and we have no idea what's going to be next. We can project and say, I think, I'm on this trajectory, and this is what it's going to look like. And it's like, oh, really? Things change. And that's what makes life so interesting. And one of the things is, one of the reasons I was really delighted to be invited to be here and be part of this forum is the topic of apology.
Yeah.
Because as women, we are taught to apologize, and it may be more the generations that we are part of. I think the younger people are growing up with a different foundation. At least I really hope so. But when we're looking at the reasons why we apologize, I think there are three things that it comes from. One is that early childhood messaging. So before like the age of 6 or 7, we are unfiltered. We get all these messages like, well, you're only a girl, you're too little, blah, 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 blah. It's kind of like you have to hold the adult's hand as you go across the street.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, we don't have to do that anymore. But we're still holding that belief in our head that we still have to have that adult taking care of us. And usually that comes through relationships with a dominant partner. So we got the childhood messaging. We've also got the current culture, which defines who we are as women and wherever we are in the cultural status, our roles, our jobs, or whatever. So there's a definition. And in that cultural messaging, there's also social media. So we're seeing these idealized pictures of people. And, that's not their everyday existence generally. I mean,
Exactly.
how many people, and we know that it happens where, couples will be standing on the edge of a cliff and they're holding up their camera and then they fall off. And there have been enough cases of that. There was something that I read just the other day about a couple on one of the rims of the Grand Canyon. And they, the people were kind of watching them as they were taking pictures along the edge. And then the other people kind of wandered off onto the trail or whatever they were doing. And then they realized that later on, the news had said that 2 people had been found like at the bottom of this huge cliff.
Wow.
It was because they were posing for social media. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't stand on the edge. You really don't, because it's not stable. And then the other thing is there are events in our lives, and those are things that cause us to feel less than or disempowered or apologetic. One of the things is when we're growing up, for girls generally, and I'm speaking generally of girls growing up, we're taught that we're not worthy, that boys are the ones who go out and have the jobs and we're the support systems. We're taught to defer to others so they feel better. So, well, you're not being nice. You're not smiling enough, whatever. But there are these things, and we're taught that we are not enough. No matter how good we are, no matter what we accomplish, we're just not good enough. There are other things we should be. And we're taught to self-judge. And we're also taught to set really huge goals. And then we feel bad when we don't attain them. Usually those goals are things that we think we have to do by ourselves because we're not used to working in a collaborative team. So one of the things is that guys, when they are going through school, they're taught to play on teams. So everybody has a role, everybody supports everybody else. This guy throws the ball to that guy and so on. As girls, we tend not to be on those teams. Now, thank goodness that's changing. But generally, we have not been taught how to be team players and how to support each other. We're taught to be servants. We are taught to, be the good moms, the good grandmothers. And when I'm talking with a lot of women, one of the first things they say is, I'm a mother of blah, blah, however many, and I'm a grandmother of however many. And I don't feel defined by my role as a mother or grandmother.
Yeah.
They're important to me. Those relationships are real important, but they're not defining me. And wow, does that open up a lot of avenues because I'm not limited. I'm not stuck in that role of nurturing mother, grandmother, blah, blah. Instead, I can go out hiking. I can go out and do the things. But, I think we have that element that is kind of baked into our girlhoods of being judged and judging ourselves. We're judged in school, we're judged in family, we're judged in relationships. And again, I'm speaking in generalities for anyone who is not in that category. Fantastic. Keep it up. Be part of the leaders in a new way of being. So when we're looking at how we're dealing with all these things that are disempowering, one is we can be proactive in our health. And that means brain chemistry as well as physical health, because if we are in pain or if we're ill, we can't function at our best. We can't carry a high vibe. We really need to have a certain level of physical and emotional and mental health to be able to carry that vibe. And that means our hormones have to be properly nourished. And, Udonna certainly can tell you a lot. She and I have been specializing with getting some of the toxins and heavy metals out, but those affect us too. So we can be proactive in our health, and we can also search out those things that make us feel better, make us feel higher vibe. For me, it's getting out in nature. It's, having some physical exertion. It's, for some people, it's music or getting around people. One of the things that we can do for our mental health is having hobbies, being within a community. This is one of the communities that certainly is enhancing our well-being. Having new activities, learning something new. One of my limiting beliefs is I'm not good at learning foreign languages. And then I was thinking yesterday, okay, so in high school, I learned Latin. I could read it pretty well. So Latin, no problem. Amo, amasa, mama, samada, all that stuff that kind of stays with you forever. I learned French well enough to be able to use it for art history research and read it reasonably well. And so why am I now, when I'm trying to learn Spanish, saying, oh, I can't learn it? It's like, that was because somewhere along the line, I said, I'm not good at.
Yeah.
So I put a limitation. When I realized that, it's like, okay, I'm going to open up the Babbel app.
There you go. There you
Back
go.
into it.
Yeah. Pam, I was taking some notes when you were sharing, and the first thing that you said, early childhood messages. I think that there are a lot of people who really don't understand or have never heard of the importance and the impact that early childhood development or trauma or painful experiences, secrets we have to keep, things that go on in the home as we're growing up that we define as, don't talk about the family business. This is private, keep it private. So there are early messages that we get, from our parents, our caregivers, our grandparents about don't talk about that. And then as a child, we kind of take that on, we take that on as, oh, this is a secret I need to keep. And even though we don't understand why we keep the secret, but then we make up the reason in our mind, and that creates a definition for why things are the way they are. And I know with you being a brain coach, which, first of all, can you tell us what is a brain coach? Because if somebody's thinking, like, do you put people in a lab and hook them up to electrodes, or what exactly is that?
Well, actually, the lab and electrodes show what's going on in the brain. I don't do that part. There are wonderful people who have all the equipment who do that, and they validate. So what I work with is more neurogenesis. Being able to have those neurons, those the connections in the brain, not only functioning properly, but growing, because we can grow new brain cells. People who've had brain damage or been damaged in a lot of different ways can actually repair the damage. We used to say that was, once you had damage in your brain, that was it. We know better now. And so there are specific things that you can do. Mostly they're lifestyle changes. There are some specific things, like I mentioned, the toxins, the heavy metals, which play a role. But basically, there are behaviors that we can do. And that's where learning new things, experiencing new things, hobbies in which we've got to stretch, we've got to get better at something.
Dominique,
physical.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
stop you for a second because what clicked with me was when you were talking about the neurons. We can actually like take those neurons that have been in place for years and years and years, and I envision it like unplugging and plugging and unplugging. So, wherever they're plugged in at the moment, if we unplug it and plug it into a different place, we can actually shift not only our vibration, but our belief system. We can master our beliefs
Absolutely.
that way. Yeah?
Absolutely. And you and I do very similar things in that we have slightly different methodology, but the result and the goal is the same. Because
Yeah.
what we want to do is support, and I think of it more in terms of like you've got this highway in your brain that and the fast cars are going down this highway, and that's the one that says, you can't, you can't, you can't, you're not good enough, you'll never, blah, blah. And there's this little footpath along the side that says, of course I can. I'm good enough. I actually love myself. I appreciate and accept myself. But that footpath doesn't get used very much. But if we use it a lot, it grows into like a bike path and then a 2-lane road and then a highway. And then the highway that's dysfunctional is not being used anymore and basically kind of fades away. So we can build new neural connections.
Yeah.
And so it's how we're dealing with taking the disempowering those limitations or the things that don't serve us, putting them in the past. So like, okay, so that happened when I was whatever age, or somebody told me, it was my fault that this happened or whatever. And one of the things with abuse is typically the abuser convinces the child, usually a child,
Yep.
or the woman that is their fault, their secret to hold. And so they're holding on to the guilt. So
Yeah.
if we can say, okay, that was something that happened then, and we can take the sting out of it. So it's no longer a trigger point.
Right.
It belongs back there. We can look at it without having that feeling.
Mhm.
So then we can move into the future feeling safe and secure and knowing that we're stepping on a new foundation that whatever happened back there, we don't have to carry along with us. I
Yeah.
view it like, going down a path, I've got my backpack on. I can reach back, take a rock out and throw it away. I don't have to carry that burden anymore.
Yeah.
And
And
I
it's
think most of us have carried things that didn't belong to us.
Yes, yes. You do not have to carry this anymore. And it's really when you put it together and you know that it's that emotional baggage that you're carrying, those emotional rocks.
Mhm.
It's like that experience where someone said you can't tell or you have to keep the secret or the
Mhm.
experience. It's not the event, it's not the experience, it's the emotion that we've attached to the experience that we have the ability to let go of and free. And wow,
Mhm.
that gives me shivers because I know I have experienced that many, many times. And when I finally understood, finally like got it in my head that that was the key
Mhm.
healing childhood trauma, it was a game changer for me.
And it doesn't need to be just childhood trauma
Yes.
because things happen all along our life. But the thing is that it creates like a stuck point
Yeah.
because there are emotions, there's usually fear.
Yep.
There are, feelings of maybe guilt for simply, in my case, it was being in the wrong place and trusting the wrong person.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's a 10-year-old girl? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But basically, things happen. And if we can detach from the trauma of it, and then we can have a whole new starting place. But we've got to bring our energy into a place of safety. And that's not a matter of just, going into therapy and repeating it every time. One of the things
Exactly.
we go into therapy and the therapist says, okay, so tell me what happened. And then a week or 2 weeks later, okay, tell me what happened. And that's
Right.
actually reinforcing
Yeah.
the thing, and it's actually adding embroidery to it.
Yeah. It's re-traumatizing. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's creating a deeper wound and one that is more entrenched, where what you and I do is we work with, let's step away from that. We're going to take the trauma out of it, and let's put something that you do want. Let's put a safe place where you can move forward and actually live the life that you want to live, free of that. One of the things is that I've realized that adversity is something that we grow from.
Hmm.
And adversity is something that we can learn. And then we make a choice. Do we stay in distress, or do we move in a different direction? And every single choice we make in our whole life has some sort of impact. And when you're in despair, it's really hard to make good choices. And that's where
Yeah.
the help comes in, because if we've got someone who perhaps has been through it, or at least has the ability to guide you out of there,
Yeah. It's
when
like
you're in
Einstein.
deep despair,
Yeah.
you're in a well and you're closed in,
It's like
and
Einstein said, you
somebody to
can't,
shine the light. I'm
yeah, you
sorry.
can't create a solution from the same mind that created the problem. So that's why it's so helpful to find someone who um, can empathize or be compassionate through their own self-awareness and their own self-knowledge, because they understand that they understand that emotional baggage that we carry, and how it can feel so real, and it can feel so debilitating. And you know, I was thinking of something that you said about social media. I think, you know, because this particular format, we're all about being unapologetic women. So
Mhm.
when we think about getting on social media and we're sharing, like, oh, you know, I'm picking the tomatoes out of my garden, or I'm whatever
Mhm.
it is I'm doing. I attended this gala on a Saturday night, and here are all my pictures. But the thing is that we, instead of looking at those pictures and saying, oh my gosh, I wish I had her life, stop and think about, well, I wonder what she's doing with the other 200 and whatever, you know, time in her life. And it's not about putting someone down or finding fault with someone, but it's about paying attention to what you're picking up on, and why you're thinking that person has a better life than
Mhm.
you do, because that's a story that you're telling yourself. And then stop apologizing for what you're not, or what you believe you're not. I think that's so valuable.
One of the biggest things that I work on with my clients is I love and I accept and appreciate myself. And then the next statement is I love myself. And being able to actually look in the mirror and say, I love myself, and actually mean it, was huge. I had there were several people, that I had gone to for help at other times. And one of them said, well, just look in the mirror every day and just say, I love myself. And it's like my subconscious was going, are you kidding me? But then I did some other things. And for me personally, it was Psych K that worked. But there are other modalities that, are very effective. But when I realized I was able to actually look in the mirror and honestly say, I love myself, and not cringe.
Yeah.
Wow.
You
I
know,
mean, whew.
I learned that like years and years and years ago from Jack Canfield, and it was so funny. I always remember what he said. You know, that he was practicing the mirror exercise, and I don't know if he got it from Louise Hay, or Louise Hay got it from Jack. I don't know, but he said one day he was in his bathroom, and he was, you know, looking in the mirror and talking to himself and saying, "I love you," and his wife walked in, and he's like, maybe I've been taking this a little too far." Of course, it was bringing levity into it, but I, like you, am amazed when I work with clients or talk to women who tell me that they just cannot look themselves in the eye in the mirror
Mhm,
and say, I love
mhm.
you. And that is a really telling opportunity to take a look at your beliefs and ask yourself, where do you feel unworthy? And and are you apologizing for your unworthiness, or are you practicing something on a daily basis to
Mhm.
strengthen your worthiness? Because that's two different vibrations there.
Yeah, well, I once had a partner who said, what is it? Something about you take up space that, in the world that I don't remember how it was phrased, but something like, I didn't deserve to take up space in the world. I was like, oh, this relationship should be over.
Yes, exactly. And that's where, when we know that, instead of apologizing and saying, I'll try to do better, I'm sorry, when someone is putting us down, it's not about us. It's about the mirror we're holding up for that other person, and they're not being able to
Mhm.
accept what they're seeing. Really
Yeah,
huge.
and we're working in this case with the subconscious
Yeah.
because the conscious says, well, of course you blah blah, you're fine or whatever. The subconscious is, no, I'm not okay. And so when that conflict is going on, there's no resolution because it's, hitting heads basically. I'm good, I'm bad, or
Yeah.
I can't, and
Yes.
there's that push, 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 and you're not getting anywhere. So when we can bring that conflict into a state of resolution and say, okay, the not good enough is over here, the good enough is over here. Now we can build. Now we
Yeah.
can move forward. And, I keep going back to, I finally have created a life that I don't want to escape from.
Exactly. When I say I
Because
love my life, yes.
it's beyond loving my life. It's not feeling the need to escape.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
was with me for a long time. And it's like, wow, I, you know, it's like, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. I have no idea.
Yes.
And it's amazing because everything that happens, everything that comes up is an opportunity to do something differently, to grow. Sometimes we need to back off. It's this dance. We're just kind of, it's a constant movement, it's a constant adjustment. And that's what makes it kind of exciting and
Yeah, and
joy.
it's who you surround yourself with. I know, like, when I am spending time with you, Donna, I am like, because she's like, I call her the happy fairy, I'm sure
Exactly.
you've known her a long time. And she laughs, she giggles, she breaks out in song, and you're like, how fortunate am I to have someone like this in my life? And those are the kind of experiences and people that we deserve to have, instead of apologizing for who we are, or the space we take up, or the air that we're breathing. Donna, share something
Yeah.
about, because you're amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I just want to say, 'cause something's been coming in my heart and especially the last few weeks, because our happy people, joyful people are strong people. That's what makes us strong, is our
Yeah.
loving ebullience and a creativity and whoa. They did test, a guy named George Land did a NASA test and measuring genius. And 4 and 5 year olds, there's 98% of them are genius. By the time they get to be adults, it's only 2%, but children are 98 because there's this ebullience in this life. And what I didn't understand was that the things that make me happy, that have this energy bursting out of them, or that's the way to be. Because I was raised to, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, that's not a good. Oh, who do you think you are? This kind of stuff, and men were always intimidating. And so the barometer of it all is, when we're joyful and we're happy, we also want to be discerning, because there's going to be people that trigger us that don't want us to be happy because they want to manipulate us. They want to disempower us. And that's the fastest way they can disempower us or distract us. So with this conversation that's happening, and I didn't realize how embedded it was because I thought I had to work in order to get to do the fun things, work, and then to do the fun things. And I think the work has to be fun.
Exactly.
I think life has to be fun. The challenges get to be puzzles. Oh my gosh. Well, now how do I figure this out? And the barometer of how your life is going is how happy are you? How can you be happy? But it's the barometer of who do you let in?
Yeah.
And who do you just go, I don't have time. Bye. Next. Because we don't have to waste our life force on arguing with them or
You're
defending
right.
ourselves. We get to just go, I don't want to dance with you. You dance
Yeah.
on my toes. Get out of here. All
Exactly.
right, love you. But I'm not, don't spoil my juiciness.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
you hit
really
it right
important
on
for,
the head.
pardon
You hit
me?
the nail right on the head, Udana, when you said work, work, work to be happy. When it's opposite, it's happy, 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 and then happy work will come your way. It's not about being miserable until you find a way to be happy. It's not about apologizing until you get to a point where you don't have to apologize anymore. It's knowing who you are in this moment, every second by second by second, that we are freaking amazing. And that's why we are unapologetic women who share. Pam, thank you so much for being with us today. I feel like I could continue this conversation for another hour. Thank you.
Thank you. And Udana, thank you for the joy you bring and
Yes,
the friendship. And you enter the room, you enter a Zoom room and you brighten it up.
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful. So
Thank
thank you
you.
both. I'm very happy to be part of this.
Well,
Yes.
and for everybody here, put in your ahas, be happy, when you go do something, if you have to do it and you don't want to do it, find something that makes you happy in doing it, do silly, break for silly.
Leave us
Anyway,
some comments. Let us know what you thought about this conversation and maybe conversations you'd like us to have in the future. Or if you'd like to be a guest and share your own comments, let us know because we're here to serve you. In the meantime, ciao for now.